Good morning, everyone. This is 1965 Gal Terry. I'm back again with episode 3 of All Souls Matter. How you doing today? Hope you're doing well. I'm going to be doing starting at Genesis 17 today, so if you want to get out your Bible and follow along, I use the old King James version of the Bible, and I'm going to be reading for 30 minutes, and then I do a commentary on it so you can get a little better grasp of what is being said in there. But first of all, I need to pray, so that I always start out your Bible reading with prayer. Dear Lord, thank you for blessing me with so many wonderful gifts from you, and please help bless your word and help it get through to people who need it out there, and please help it to do what it needs to do in people, of course, and thank you for your word. We love you in the name of Jesus, amen. So I'm going to set my timer for 30 minutes so that I don't go over Okay, here we go, chapter 17. And when Abram was 90 years old and 9, the Lord appeared to Abram and said unto him, I am the Almighty God, walk before me, and be thou perfect. And I will make my covenant between me and thee, and I will multiply thee exceedingly. And Abram fell on his face, and God talked with him, saying, As for me, behold, my covenant is with thee, and thou shalt be a father of many nations. Neither shall thy name any more be called Abram, but thy name shall be Abraham. For a father of many nations have I made thee, and I will make thee exceedingly fruitful, and I will make nations of thee, and kings shall come out of thee. And I will establish my covenant between me and thee, and thy seed after thee in their generations, for an everlasting covenant, to be a God unto thee, and to thy seed after thee. And I will give unto thee and to thy seed after thee the land wherein thou art a stranger, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession, and I will be their God. And God said unto Abraham, Thou shalt keep my covenant, therefore thou and thy seed after thee in their generations. This is my covenant which ye shall keep between me and you and thy seed after thee. Every man child among you shall be circumcised. And ye shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be token of the covenant betwixt me and you. And he that is 8 days old shall be circumcised among you, every man child in your generations. He that is born in the house, or bought with money of any stranger which is not of thy seed. He that is born in thy house, and he that is bought with thy money must needs be circumcised, and my covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. And the uncircumcised man-child, whose flesh of his foreskin is not circumcised, that soul shall be cut off from his people. He hath broken my covenant. And God said unto Abraham, As for Sarai thy wife, thou shalt not call her name Sarai, but Sarah shall her name be. And I will bless her, and give thee a son also of her. Yea, I will bless her, and she shall be a mother of nations. Kings of people shall be of her. Then Abraham fell upon his face, and laughed, and said in his heart, Shall a child be born unto him that is 100 years old? And shall Sarah that is 90 years old bear? And Abraham said unto God, Oh, that Ishmael might live before thee. And God said, Sarah, thy wife shall bear thee a son indeed, and thou shalt call his name Isaac. And I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his seed after him. And as for Ishmael, I have heard thee. Behold, I have blessed him, and I will make him fruitful, and will multiply him exceedingly. 12 princes shall he beget, and I will make him a great nation. But my covenant will I establish with Isaac, which Sarah shall bear unto thee at this set time in the next year. And he left off talking with him, and God went up from Abraham. And Abraham took Ishmael his son, and all that were born in his house, and all that were bought with his money, every male among the men of Abraham's house, and circumcised the flesh of their foreskin in the selfsame day as God had said unto him. And Abraham was 90 years old and 9 when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin, and Ishmael his son was 13 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. And the selfsame day was Abraham circumcised, and Ishmael his son. And all the men of his house, born in the house and bought with money of the stranger, were circumcised with him. Chapter 18. And the Lord appeared unto him in the plains of Mamre, and he sat in the tent door in the heat of the day. And he lifted up his eyes and looked, and lo, 3 men stood by him. And when he saw them, he ran to meet them from the tent door, and bowed himself toward the ground, and said, My Lord, if now I have found favor in thy sight, pass not away, I pray thee, from thy servant. Let a little water, I pray you, be fetched, and wash your feet, and rest yourselves under the tree. And I will fetch a morsel of bread, and comfort ye your hearts. After that you shall pass on, for therefore are you come to your servant? And they said, So do as thou hast said. And Abraham hastened unto the tent, unto Sarah, and said, Make ready quickly 3 measures of fine meal, knead it, and make cakes upon the hearth. And Abraham ran into the herd, and fetched a calf tender and good, and gave it unto a young man, and he hasted to dress it. And he took butter and milk, and the calf which he had dressed, and set it before them, and he stood by them under the tree, and they did eat. And they said unto him, Where is Sarah, thy wife? And he said, Behold, in the tent. And he said, I will certainly return unto thee according to the time of life, and lo, Sarah, thy wife, shall have a son. And Sarah heard it in the tent door, which was behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old and well stricken in age, and it ceased to be with Sarah after the manner of women. Therefore Sarah laughed within herself, saying, After I am waxed old shall I have pleasure, my Lord being old also? And the Lord said unto Abraham, Wherefore did Sarah laugh, saying, Shall I of a surety bear a child, which I am old? It is anything too hard for the Lord? At the time appointed I will return unto thee according to the time of life, and Sarah shall have a son. Then Sarah denied, saying, I laughed not, for she was afraid. And he said, Nay, but thou didst laugh. And the men rose up from thence, and looked toward Sodom, and Abraham went with them to bring them on the way. And the Lord said, Shall I hide from Abraham that thing which I do? Seeing that Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him. For I know him, and he will command his children and his household after him. They shall keep the way of the Lord, and do justice and judgment, that the Lord may bring upon Abraham that which he hath spoken of him. And the Lord said, Because the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is very grievous, I will go down now and see whether they have done altogether according to the cry of it, which is come unto me, and if not, I will know. And the men turned their faces from thence, and went toward Sodom, but Abraham stood yet before the Lord. And Abraham drew near, and said, Wilt thou also destroy the righteous with the wicked? Peradventure there be 50 righteous within the city. Wilt thou also destroy, and not spare the place for the 50 righteous that are therein? That be far from thee to do after this manner, to slay the righteous with the wicked, and that the righteous should be as the wicked, that be far from thee. Shall not the judge of all of the earth do right? And the Lord said, If I find Sodom 50 righteous within the city, then I will spare all the place for their sakes. And Abraham answered and said, Behold, now I have taken upon me to speak unto the Lord, which I am but dust and ashes. Peradventure there shall lack 5 of the 50 righteous. Wilt thou destroy all the city for lack of 5? And he said, If I find there 40 and 5, I will not destroy it. And he spake unto him yet again, and said, Peradventure there shall be 40 found there. And he said, I will not do it for 40's sake. And he said unto him, let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak. Peradventure there shall 30 be found there? And he said, I will not do it if I find 30 there. And he said, Behold, now I have taken upon me to speak unto the Lord. Peradventure there shall be 20 found there. And he said, I will not destroy it for 20's sake. And he said, Oh, let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak yet but this once. Peradventure 10 shall be found there. And he said, I will not destroy it for 10's sake. And the Lord went on his way as soon as he had left communing with Abraham. And Abraham returned unto his place. Chapter 19. And there came 2 angels to Sodom at even, and Lot sat unto the gate of Sodom, and Lot, seeing them, rose up to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face toward the ground. And he said, Behold, now, my lords, turn in, I pray you, in your servant's house, and tarry all night, and wash your feet, and ye shall rise up early and go on your ways. And they said, Nay, but we will abide in the street all night. And he pressed upon them greatly, and they turned in unto him, and entered in his house. And he made them a feast, and did bake unleavened bread, and they did eat. But before they lay down, the men of the city, even the men of Sodom, compassed the house round, both old and young, all the people from every quarter. And they called unto Lot, and said unto him, Where are the men which came in to thee this night? Bring them out unto us, that we may know them. And Lot went out at the door unto them, and shut the door after him, and said, I pray you, brethren, do not so wickedly. Behold, now I have 2 daughters, which have not known man. Let me, I pray you, bring them out unto you, and do ye to them as is good in your eyes. Only unto these men do nothing, for therefore came they under the shadow of my roof. And they said, Stand back. And they said again, This one fellow came in to sojourn, and he will needs be a judge. Now will we deal worse with thee than with them? And they pressed sore upon the man, even Lot, and came near to break the door. But the men put forth their hand, and pulled Lot into the house to them, and shut the door. And they smote the men that were at the door of the house with blindness, both small and great, so that they wearied themselves to find the door. And the men said unto Lot, Hast thou here any besides son-in-law, and thy sons, and thy daughters, and whatsoever thou hast in the city? Bring them out of this place. For we will destroy this place, because the cry of them is waxen great before the face of the Lord, and the Lord hath sent us to destroy it. And Lot went out and spake unto his sons-in-law, which married his daughters, and said, Up, get ye out of this place, for the Lord will destroy this city. But he seemed as one that mocked unto his sons-in-law. And when the morning arose, then the angel hastened Lot, saying, Arise, take thy wife and thy 2 daughters which are here, lest thou be consumed in the iniquity of the city. And while he lingered, the men laid hold upon his hand, and upon the hand of his wife, and upon the hand of his 2 daughters, the Lord being merciful unto him. And they brought him forth, and set him without the city. And it came to pass, when they had brought them forth abroad, that he said, Escape for thy life, look not behind thee, neither stay thou in the plain. Escape to the mountain, lest thou be consumed. And Lot said unto them, Oh, not so, my lord. Behold, now thy servant hath found grace in thy sight, and thou hast magnified thy mercy, which thou hast shown unto me in saving my life, and I cannot escape to the mountain, lest some evil take me and I die. Behold, now this city is near to flee unto, and it is a little one. Oh, let me escape thither. Is it not a little one? And my soul shall live. And he said unto him, See, I have accepted thee concerning this thing, that I will not overthrow this city, for thee which thou hast spoken. Hast thee escaped thither? For I cannot do anything till thou be come thither. Therefore the name of the city was called Zoar. The sun was risen upon the earth when Lot inferred into Zoar. Then the Lord rained upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven. And he overthrew those cities and all the plain and all the inhabitants of the cities and that which grew upon the ground. But his wife looked back from behind him and said, she became a pillar of salt. And Abraham got up early in the morning to the place where he stood before the Lord, and he looked toward Sodom and Gomorrah and toward all the land of the plain, and beheld, and lo, the smoke of the country went up as the smoke of a furnace. And it came to pass, when God destroyed the cities of the plain, that God remembered Abraham, and sent Lot out to the midst of the overthrow, when he overthrew the cities of which Lot dwelt. And Lot went up to Zoar, and dwelt in the mountains, and his 2 daughters with him, for he feared to dwell in Zoar. He dwelt in a cave, he and his 2 daughters. And the firstborn said unto the younger, Our father is old, and there is not a man in the earth to come in unto us after the manner of all the earth. Come, let us make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father. And they made their father drink wine that night, and the firstborn went in and lay with her father, and he perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose. It came to pass in the morrow that the firstborn said unto the younger, Behold, I lay yesternight with my father. Let us make him drink wine this night also, and go thou in and lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father. And they made their father drink wine that night also, and the younger arose and lay with him, and he perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose. Thus were both daughters of Lot with child by their father, and the firstborn bare a son, and called his name Moab. The same is the father of the Moabites unto this day. And the younger, she also bare a son, and called his name Ben-Ami. The same day is the father of the children of Ammon unto this day. Chapter 20. And Abraham journeyed from thence towards the south country, and dwelled between Kadesh and Shur, and sojourned in Gerar. And Abraham said of Sarah his wife, She is my sister. And Abimelech king of Gerar sent and took Sarah. But God came to Abimelech in a dream by night, and said to him, Behold, thou art but a dead man, for the woman which thou hast taken, for she is a man's wife. But Abimelech had not come near her, and he said, Lord, wilt thou slay also a righteous nation? Said he not unto me, She is my sister, and she herself said, He is my brother. In the integrity of my heart and in innocency of my hands have I done this. And God said unto him in a dream, Yea, I know that thou didst this in the integrity of thy heart, for I also withheld thee from sinning against me. Therefore suffered I thee not to touch her. Now therefore restore the man his wife, for he is a prophet, and he shall pray for thee, and thou shalt live. And if thou restore her not, know thou that thou shalt surely die, thou and all that are thine. Therefore Abimelech rose early in the morning, and called all his servants, and told all these things in their ears, and the men were sore afraid. Then Abimelech called Abraham, and said unto him, What hast thou done unto us, and what have I offended thee, that thou hast brought on me and on my kingdom a great sin? Thou hast done deeds unto me that ought not to be done. And Abimelech said unto Abraham, What sawest thou that thou hast done this thing? And Abraham said, Because I thought, Surely the fear of God is not in this place, and they will slay me for my wife's sake. And yet indeed she is my sister, she is the daughter of my father, but not the daughter of my mother, and she became my wife. And it became to pass, when God caused me to wander from my father's house, that I said unto her, This is thy kindness which thou shalt shew unto me. At every place whither we shall come, say of me, He is my brother. And Abimelech took sheep and oxen and men servants and women servants, and gave them unto Abraham, and restored him Sarah his wife. And Abimelech said, Behold, my land is before thee, dwell where it pleaseth thee. And unto Sarah he said, Behold, I have given thy brother 1,000 pieces of silver. Behold, he is to thee a covering of the eyes. Unto all that are with thee, and with all other, thus she was reproved. So Abraham prayed unto God, and God healed Abimelech, and his wife, and his maidservants, and they bare children. For the Lord had fast closed up all the wombs of the house of Abimelech, because of Sarah, Abraham's wife. Chapter 21. And the Lord visited Sarah, as he had said, and the Lord did unto Sarah as he had spoken, for Sarah conceived and bare Abraham a son in his old age, at the set time of which God had spoken to him. Abraham called the name of his son that was born unto him, whom Sarah bare to him, Isaac. And Abraham circumcised his son Isaac, being 8 days old, as God had commanded him. Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born unto him. And Sarah said, God hath made me to laugh, so that all will hear will laugh with me. And she said, Who would have said unto Abraham that Sarah should have given children suck? For I have borne him a son in his old age. And the child grew and was weaned, and Abraham made a great feast the same day that Isaac was weaned. And Sarah saw the son of Hagar the Egyptian, which she had borne unto Abraham, mocking. Wherefore she said unto Abraham, Cast out this bondwoman and her son, for the son of this bondwoman shall not be heir with my son, even with Isaac. And the thing was very grievous in Abraham's sight because of his son. And God said unto Abraham, Let it not be grievous in thy sight because of the lad, and because of thy bondwoman. In all that Sarah hath said unto thee, hearken unto her voice, for in Isaac shall the seed be called. And also of the son of the bondwoman will I make a nation, because he is thy seed. And Abraham rose up early in the morning, and took bread and a bottle of water, and gave it to Hagar, putting it on her shoulder, and the child, and sent her away. And she departed, and wandered into the wilderness of Beersheba. And the water was spent in the bottle, and she cast the child under one of the shrubs. And she went and sat her down over against him a good way off, as it were a bow shot. For she said, Let me not see the death of the child. And she sat over against him, lifted up her voice, and wept. And God heard the voice of the lad, and the angel of God called to Hagar out of heaven, and said unto her, What aileth thee, Hagar? Fear not, for God hath heard the voice of the lad where he is. Arise, lift up the lad, and hold him in thine hands, for I will make him a great nation. God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. And she went and filled the bottle with water, and gave the lad drink. And God was with the lad, and he grew and dwelt in the wilderness, and became an archer. And he dwelt in the wilderness of Paran, and his mother took him a wife out of the land of Egypt. It came to pass that time that Abimelech and Phicol, the chief captain of his host, spake unto Abraham, saying, God is with thee in all that thou doest. Now therefore swear unto me here by God that thou wilt not deal falsely with me, nor with my son, nor with my son's son, but according to the kindness that I have done unto thee thou shalt do unto me, and to the land wherein thou hast sojourned. And Abraham said, I will swear. And Abraham reproved Abimelech because of a well of water which Abimelech's servants had violently taken away. And Abimelech said, I wot not who hath done this thing, neither didst thou tell me, neither yet I heard of it but today. And Abraham took sheep and oxen, and gave them unto Abimelech, and both of them made a covenant. And Abraham set 7 ewe lambs of the flock by themselves. Abimelech said unto Abraham, What mean these 7 ewe lambs which thou hast set by themselves? And he said, For these 7 ewe lambs shalt thou take of my hand, that there may be a witness unto me that I have digged this well. Wherefore he called that place Beersheba, because there they swear both of them. Thus they made a covenant at Beersheba, and Abimelech rose up, and Phicol, the chief captain of his host, and they returned unto the land of the Philistines. Abraham planted a grove in Beersheba, and called there on the name of the Lord and everlasting God. And Abraham sojourned in the Philistines' land many days. Chapter 22. And it came to pass after these things that God did tempt Abraham, and said unto him, Abraham. And he said, Behold, here I am. And he said, Take now thy son, thine only son, Isaac, whom thou lovest, and get thee in the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains which I will tell thee of. Abraham rose up early in the morning, and saddled his ass, and took 2 of his young men with him, and Isaac his son, and clave the wood for the burnt offering, and rose up and went unto the place of which God had told him. Then on the third day Abraham lifted up his eyes and saw the place afar off. And Abraham said unto his young men, Abide you here with the ass, and I and the lad will go yonder and worship, and come again to you. And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering and laid it upon Isaac his son, and took the fire in his hand and a knife, and they went both of them together. And Isaac spoke unto Abraham his father, and said, My father. And he said, Here I am, and my son. And he said, Behold, the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering? And Abraham said, My son, God will provide himself a lamb for a burnt offering. So they went, both of them together, and they came to the place which God had told him of. And Abraham built an altar there, and laid the wood in order, and bound Isaac his son, and laid him in the altar upon the wood. Abraham stretched forth his hand, and took the knife to slay his son. And the angel of the Lord called unto him of heaven, and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, Here I am. And he said, Lay not thine hand upon the lad, neither do thou anything unto him, for now I know that thou fearest God, seeing thou hast not withheld thy son, thine only son, from me. Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him a ram caught in a thicket by his horns. And Abraham went and took the ram, and offered him up for a burnt offering in the stead of his son. And Abraham called the name of that place Jehovah-Jireh, as it said, To this day in the mount of the Lord it shall be seen. And the angel of the Lord called unto Abraham out of heaven the second time, and said, By myself have I sworn, saith the Lord, for because thou hast done this thing, and hast not withheld thy son, thine only son, that in blessing I will bless thee, and in multiplying I will multiply thy seed, as the stars of the heaven, as the sand which is upon the seashore. Thy seed shall possess the gate of his enemies. And in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, because thou hast obeyed my voice. So Abraham returned unto his young men. They rose up and went together to Beersheba. Abraham dwelt at Beersheba. And it came to pass after these things that it was told Abraham, saying, Behold, Micah, she hath also borne children unto thy brother Nahor, who is his firstborn, and Buz his brother, and Kemuel the father of Aram, and Chesed, and Hazo, and Pildash, and Jilap, and Bethulah. And Bethuel begat Rebekah. These 8 Milcah did bear to Nahor, and Abraham's brother. And his concubine, whose name was Remuah, she bare also Taba, and Gaham, and Thahash, and Micah. And Sarah was this is chapter 23. And Sarah was 107 and 20 years old when these were the years of the life of Sarah. And Sarah died in Kirjath Arabah, the same is Hebron in the land of Canaan. And Abraham came to mourn for Sarah, and to weep for her. And Abraham stood up from behind his dead, and spake unto the son of Heth, saying, I am a stranger and a sojourner with you. Give me possession of a burying place with you, that I may bury my dead out of my sight. And the children of Heth answered Abraham, saying unto him, Hear us, my lord, thou art a mighty prince among us. In the choice of our sepulchres bury thy dead. None of us shall withhold from thee his sepulchre, but that thou mayest bury thy dead. Abraham stood up and bowed himself to the people of the land, even to the children of Heth. And he communed with them, saying, If it be your mind that I should bury my dead out of my sight, hear me and entreat me to Ephron the son of Zohar, that he may give me the cave of Machpelah, which he hath, which is in the end of his field, for as much money as it is worth. He shall give it to me for possession of a burying place amongst you. And Ephraim dwelt amongst the children of Heth, and Ephraim the Hittite answered Abraham in his audience of the children of Heth, even of all that went in at the gate of the city, saying, Nay, my lord, hear me. The field give I thee, and the cave that is herein I give it thee. In the presence of the sons of my people give it thee. Bury thy dead. Abraham bowed down himself before the people of the land, and he spake unto Ephraim in the audience of the people of the land, saying, But if thou wilt give it, I pray thee, hear me. I will give thee money for the field. Take it of me, and I will bury my dead there. And Ephraim answered Abraham, saying unto him, My Lord, hearken unto me. The land is worth 400 shekels of silver. That is betwixt me and thee. Bury therefore thy dead. And Abraham hearkened unto Ephraim. And Abraham weighed unto Ephraim the silver which he had named in the audience of the sons of Heth, 400 shekels of silver, current money, with the merchant. And the field of Ephraim, which was in Machpelah, which was before Mamre, the field, and the cave which was therein, and all of the trees that were in the field, that were in the borders round about, were made sure unto Abraham for a possession in the presence of the children of Heth, before all that went in the gate of his city. And after this Abraham buried Sarah his wife in the cave of the field of Machpelah, before Mamre, at the same is Hebron, in the land of Canaan. And the field and the cave that is therein were made sure unto Abraham for a possession of a burying place by the sons of Heth. So that's chapter, all the way up until chapter 24, and I have 25 seconds left. And I'm going to stop right there, and I'm going to do a little commentary. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit, go through that, what I just read, chapter 17 through 20, well, all the way up until the beginning of 24. Okay, so God made a covenant with Abraham. Well, he renamed him Abraham from Abram, and because he's the father of many nations, he'll be father of many nations. He called him Abraham. A lot of times the names in well, most of the time the names in the Bible, their meaning tells you exactly what, it tells a story, just their name. So, okay, so God made a covenant, and he told Abraham to circumcise all of his nation's men on the 8th day, to circumcise them on the 8th day. And I did a study before about the 8th day is when the perfect time to circumcise, since the blood is able to coagulate perfectly. Anyway, then Sarai got renamed Sarah, and he blessed her, and she'll be a mother of nations. I guess that's why he renamed her. And then Sarah, he said Sarah shall bear a son called Isaac for the everlasting covenant. And as for Ishmael, he blessed him and made him fruitful, and he'll multiply him exceedingly. 12 princes shall he beget, and I will make him a great nation. God said about Ishmael too. So they circumcised all of the men in the whole kingdom there. And then in chapter 18, the Lord appeared before Abraham, and there was three men, and then the 3 men were angels, and Abraham recognized that they were angels, and he fed them water. What happens is, when people used to come to visit you, you would feed them a big meal and give them all the water, because usually they were really hungry because they had to travel a long way. You would give them all kinds of food, and you'd have a big feast, and you'd wash their feet, and so that's why he had everybody fetch the calves, and got the butter and the milk and the calf, and then and they ate. And then what happened was Sarah, they were talking about Sarah having a son, and then Sarah laughed because she was 90 years old, and so she laughed, and then God asked her did you just laugh? And she said, no. And he said, yes, you just did laugh. And she said, you are going to have, don't laugh because you're going to have a son. And the men, the angels, the men, rose up from thence and looked towards Sodom, and Abraham went with them to bring them on the way. So they went to Sodom, and they found Lot, and there was a, Abraham, God told him he was going to scorch Sodom and Gomorrah because of their very wicked lifestyles. They were all committing homosexuality, and the whole city was bad. So God was going to scorch the city, and that's where Lot was like staying, on the outside of Sodom and Gomorrah. And Abraham was talking to God about scorching the city, and he asked him, well, if there's 50 righteous in the city, will you not scorch it? And God said no, he wouldn't for 50, and then he asked for 45 and 40 and 30 and 20, and finally got him down to 10. He said, no, if there's 10 righteous people in the whole city, I will not scorch it. So obviously there was not even 10 righteous people in the city, so that's very important. Well, they saw Lot at the gate of Sodom, and then then the angels came into Lot's house. Homosexuals that were in Sodom saw the angels, the men, and then they came to Lot's door, and they said they wanted to be with the guys, And he said, no, I'm not going to allow you to be with these guys, and you can be with my daughters, So he was going to give him his daughters, but they didn't want the women, they wanted the men. And so the angels pulled Lot back into the house, and then they told him how they were going to God's going to destroy Sodom, and then he needed to leave with his daughter's wife and the daughter's husbands. They needed to leave town and go into the mountains, not even staying on low ground, but to go into the mountains because he was going to destroy the thing. So in the morning, it rained. In chapter 19, chapter 24, verse 24, the Lord rained upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven. He overthrew the cities, all the plain, and all the inhabitants of the city, and that which grew upon the ground. So Lot's wife looked back, and she turned into a pillar of salt, because they said not to look back, and she did, and so it was overthrown. And then kind of strange thing happened. Lot's daughters got Lot drunk, and they wanted to be with child. They wanted to have kids, so they got him drunk, and then they were with him, and to protect the seed, I guess. And then they made their father drink wine, and then they both got pregnant, and the firstborn bare a son called Moab. He is the father of the Moabites. There still is the Moabites. The younger bare a son named Ben-Ami, the father of the children of Ammon, the Ammonites. And then Abraham and his wife went south to Gerar and met Abimelech. And God told Abimelech, no, that you need to not be with this lady Sarah, because she's Abraham's wife. And he said, but she said that she was his sister and that he was her brother and everything. But God said, no, you're going to be cursed if you were with her. So he came up to them and he asked them, why did you tell me that? You were brother and sister, and and they said that he thought you would destroy us. And so Abimelech gave them all kinds of stuff and sent them along. Or he said they could stay there as long as they wanted. Gave them 1,000 pieces of silver. I mean, that's 1,000 pieces of silver is like $1 billion. So, and then Abraham prayed with God, and God healed Abimelech and his wife and his maidservant. Oh, because God had given, he had made all the women barren in this land, and then they came through there, and then Abimelech listened to God when he told him not to be with Sarah, and then God rewarded him by giving all his women in his land the ability to have children. So that's great. And chapter 21 is when Sarah finally conceived, and she bare Isaac, and Isaac was going to be the leader of many great nations. Of course, Isaac got circumcised, and then they sent off the lady, Sarah's handmaiden, Hagar, and her son Ishmael. They sent them off and with some bread and water, and she went off into the wilderness, and she gave up. She was just like, I'm out of water, I'm out of bread, I'm just going to put my child in a bush, I just don't know what to do. And then God went to her and said, God opened her eyes, and he made her a huge, he told her that, don't worry, Ishmael will make he will have a lot of people under him, he'll be a great nation. And then he made a well, and then she filled up her water, and they drank and ate and everything. And then they went into Paran, and Ishmael married a lady in the land of Egypt. So I'm sorry, but I'm trying to... Abimelech and Abraham made a little covenant that he won't destroy them. Like he knew Abraham and his people could destroy Abimelech and his people, so they made a little agreement that that Abraham would not destroy them. Or Abraham took sheep and oxen and gave them to Abimelech, and then he gave him a bunch of female lambs and dig a well, and they made a covenant in Beersheba. And Abraham planted a grove in Beersheba, and he sojourned in the Philistine land many days. So then chapter 22, God told Abraham to bring his son Isaac he told him to bring his only son Isaac into the land and offer up in Moriah and offer a burnt offering. So he took his son and some men and went up, and he was gonna sacrifice Isaac, and then God said, no, since I just was testing you to see if you were true to me, and you're gonna sacrifice your son. So he blessed him, and so he blessed him very much, gave him a ram to sacrifice instead. But if he was just testing him to see if he really trusted God. And then Sarah died, and then they were trying to figure out where to bury Sarah. They finally ended up burying her. All of chapter 23 is about where they buried Sarah, because they didn't want to put her in a land where they couldn't visit her grave and everything. So they finally ended up burying her in Ephron, which was in Melpila, which was before Mamre. They buried her in a field with a bunch of trees around, and all the borders were like covered, so they made sure that Abraham could always go to see her, rather than being in a country where he couldn't visit his wife. Alright, y'all, I mean, that was a little bit of a struggle for me. I do say a lot, and I really apologize. I try to not say it. I try not to say it, but I end up saying it a lot. But once again, if you have any questions regarding this, I can probably try to help you or look it up or whatever. But that was chapter 17 through 23, all the way up until 24. So tomorrow we'll be doing chapter 24, and as far as I can go in 30 minutes. So thank you again, and I hope this blesses you, and I hope it blesses many people down the line. God told me to do this, and I'm doing what He said to do. I'm just making these videos. I'm reading the Bible, because faith comes by hearing, and hearing of every word of the Lord. So, God bless you. Have a great day. I love you. Bye.